Right, guys, today is an episode of The Best of the Rest, and basically just looking at a few of the games over the weekend that I haven't already made a video about, basically. So we'll start off with Man City Watford, 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. On paper, it was the easiest game to predict this weekend. Looking at it, it was always going to be fairly straightforward for City, given how poor Watford's defence is and how good City's attack is. But to be fair, Watford did have their chances throughout the game. They probably had 3 chances which they probably should have scored. So Hassan Kamara took his brilliantly. Really well struck on sort of like half volley. It wasn't hard to catch hold of, but he still caught it well and directed it right into the bottom corner. João Pedro had a really good header right at the end, which he should have scored. And also Emmanuel Dennis in the first half went through on goal, which, if you're going through on goal against Man City, first of all, that's a rarity, so you need to take the chance. But he just decides to stop and doesn't even get the shot off in the end, which was bizarre to me. And at that point, I don't think City, I think they might have been 1-0 up at that point. So, needed to score that. But obviously the man of the match, the most spoken about player from the game was Gabriel Jesus. And rightly so, because it's not often a player scores 4 goals in a game. In fact, I can't think of a time when it has happened this season. I'm not sure if it even has. I can remember Paul Pogba somehow getting 4 assists in a game. I think that was on the opening day against Leeds. But I don't think there's been a player who scored 4 in one game yet this season. I might be wrong. Probably am. But yeah, it's almost like he heard that he was being linked to Arsenal and just thought, nah, I don't want that. Time to show what I'm about. And most of his goals, they were fairly straightforward goals. The first one was just a tap-in, basically. Second one, a header that was hard to miss because of how good Kevin De Bruyne's cross was. Kevin De Bruyne, again, just had a superb game. Just like creating chances all over the place. And yeah, that cross for the second goal was superb. That was when Watford pulled one back through Hassan Kamara, but then Rodri unleashed an absolute thunderbolt to pretty much put the game beyond all doubt just before half-time and make it 3-1. In the second half, Kamara made a huge mistake for Jesus, and Jesus took it round Ben Foster. Ben Foster took Jesus down, and of course it's a penalty. Jesus tucked that away to get his hat-trick, and he also got a fourth after a quick 1-2 with De Bruyne on the edge of the box and a straightforward finish as well. So yeah, he had an absolutely brilliant game, Jesus. And Watford, they're getting relegated, aren't they now? They're sort of starting to become another one of them yo-yo teams. We've seen it with Norwich and Fulham. There's that ridiculous statistic with Norwich and Fulham where they haven't actually played each other since 2018, which is, when you think about it, ridiculous because they've both been going like that. It's just bonkers, that. But yeah, Watford look like they're going to become that, and I think they'll probably come up next season if they do. Well, they will go down now because they've got some really good attacking talents. It's just defensively they're shocking, but you can get away with that in the Championship, I think. So yeah, I think they'll come back up. But yeah, I think this was probably City's easiest game though in their running. So they 100% needed to win it, and they have closed down the goal difference a little bit on Liverpool, which they'll be happy about. And then in the Saturday evening game, Tottenham didn't beat. Tottenham played Brentford and drew 0-0 at Brentford Stadium. And it wasn't the greatest game ever. Tottenham were absolutely poor for the second game in a row. Last week against Brighton, they also didn't play very well, which it will be disappointing for Tottenham because they've been on a good run of form before this, and it is starting to look now like top four is swinging in Arsenal's favour. Um, but Brentford were the better side, and that's the truth. To be honest, they hit the woodwork twice, both from Ivan Toney headers, once right at the end of the game, once in the first half. Harry Kane came the closest to scoring for Tottenham with one of the last kicks of the game, really audacious overhead kick, which would have been one of the goals of the season if it had gone in, but it went just the wrong side of the post. But other than that, Tottenham really didn't come close to scoring. I've got to be honest. Brentford were by far the better side. Tottenham just didn't offer anything in Son and Kulusevski in this game like they have been recently. There was just no forward threat, and there was no point in the game where you felt like Brentford was struggling. I think a couple of occasions there were where chances fell to Brian Mbeumo and he missed them, but the thing with Mbeumo is he's brilliant at getting into positions and he is a good player and he's obviously still very young, but he just can't finish to save his life. It just feels like sometimes I watched a game a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember who it was against. In fact, I think it was against West Ham. He missed quite a few chances that game, but the goal he scored was one of his harder chances that game, which I just found bizarre. It is definitely something he needs to work on, his finishing. But yes, it just looks like top four's Arsenal's now with two really good results this week against Chelsea and United, and that's off the back of three really disappointing results for Arsenal against Southampton, Brighton and Crystal Palace. It's almost like nobody wants top four because you can guarantee in the next few games Arsenal will drop some points where you really wouldn't have expected them to, and now Tottenham will maybe win a couple. It's like there's no consistency whatsoever. I think Man United and West Ham have both dropped out of it now. I think it's purely between Arsenal and Tottenham for that fourth spot. Obviously, a lot of this game, the build up to it anyway, was about Christian Eriksen facing his former club. Again, which I mean, both fans were delighted to see him play, obviously, after what he's been through over the past year. And I mean, can you imagine 18 months ago saying that at this time Christian Eriksen would be playing for Brentford? Because first of all, you wouldn't know Brentford were actually in the Premier League. And second of all, he was playing for Inter Milan then, so you'd think, well, he must have been doing awful at Inter Milan, but obviously that couldn't be further from the truth. Well, I'm not saying he'd set the world alight at Inter Milan, but what I am saying is that he's doing very well to actually still be playing after what happened at the Euros. But yeah, Tottenham, they've still very far off, aren't they, for the top level? And Brentford, I think next season they are going to improve on their league table position. I think next season it wouldn't surprise me if they could possibly push for a top half finish, because this season it feels like they've got some good results against Liverpool. They got a draw earlier on in the season. They beat Arsenal on the opening day, obviously. They recently beat Chelsea, but it feels like there was a big period between October and maybe February where, well, they were missing a couple of key players in their goalkeeper, obviously, David Raya, and they struggled a little bit. So I think they'll do better next season. And then on 2 o'clock no, on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Keep mixing up words today. Chelsea played West Ham at home in a not full capacity Stamford Bridge, obviously due to the fact that they can't sell tickets to fans. Only season ticket holders can go to the game. And yeah, the first half, Jesus Christ, that was a pain to watch. It was a terrible half of football. West Ham, you can understand it. You know, they're in the Europa League. They're playing every Thursday and every Sunday at the moment. And they've got a few injuries as well. Kurt Zuma's out, Angelo Ogbonna's out. I'm not sure about Issa Diop, but I'm assuming he's injured as well. So, you know, they don't need to be going 100% when there's not really anything to play for in the Premier League at the moment anyway. As long as they do enough to keep that spot at 7th and maybe push for 6th, there isn't really much else. Like, West Ham know their best chance to get in Champions League is by winning the Europa League, so they're going to put all their eggs in that basket. But yeah, second half Chelsea went out and played and went for it a bit more at least. But Craig Dawson had a superb game. He was just chucking himself in front of absolutely everything second half. Like Chelsea were, the ball didn't leave West Ham's half often in that second half. But yeah, I say Craig Dawson had a superb game up until about the 87th minute. Romelu Lukaku does what Lukaku does best when he's got his back to goal, he's got a defender behind him. Dawson, he just comes too close to Lukaku. You need to leave Lukaku a yard of space, because if you do that, that's when he does that swivel and uses his body perfectly to put you where he wants you, and also position himself between the ball and the defender. And Dawson pulled Lukaku back. I mean, you must be quite strong to pull Lukaku back. But yeah, he went down and it was a penalty. And the referee correctly, in my opinion, overturned his decision to send Dawson off, because it was a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And yeah, Jorginho stepped up to take the penalty. And the commentator's talking about how he's the most reliable penalty taker there is. He steps up to take it, does this stupid hop, skip and jump thing, and side foots it right in the middle of the goal. Fabianski, easiest penalty save he'll ever make. I can't believe this player won the 3rd best player of the year award last year. If you offer Man City or Liverpool, and I'm a Liverpool fan, by the way, if you offer me Jorginho to play in Liverpool's midfield, I wouldn't. I mean, I'd take him as a squad player, but I wouldn't start him. He's not on the level of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, and Thiago when they're all fully fit. Same with City. He's not on the level of Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. He's a good player, but he's not world class, I don't think. Yeah, I just in that Italy midfield, I thought the 2 players that stood out to me in the Euros in their midfield were Barella and Verratti. I know Locatelli also scored quite a few goals in the group stage, I think, but those 2 were the 2 that stood out to me. And luckily, his blushes were spared thanks to Christian Pulisic, who managed to turn in Marcus Alonso's cross at the end of the game. We're talking stoppage time here as well. And I think this sad thing for West Ham is if Craig Dawson had stayed on the pitch, I don't think Chelsea score that, because they have an extra body. West Ham have an extra body in the box. And the amount of things Dawson got in the way of in that second half, he'd probably get in the way of Pulisic's shot as well, or he might even intercept the cross. But yeah, Chelsea, another late winner similar to the one I think they scored against Newcastle about a month ago. And yeah, finished 1-0.